Chapter 8:11. Being too rude might get you killed. Im Li Minute of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, said the woman in black. Im Wei Jixiang from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, said the handsome young man. I've heard quite a lot about you, junior brother. Jiang Hao looked at them and addressed them as seniors. Li Minute was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. When she spoke, Jiang Hao could sense her resentment toward him. Wei Jixiang was at the later stage of the Golden Core realm. He seemed to have just advanced. He was friendly when he spoke. Something's odd. If it's about senior sister Yun Ruo, it shouldn't matter to Li Minute, so why is she hostile to me? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Junior brother Jiang, you're quite famous in the sect lately, said Wei Jixiang. Jiang Hao lowered his head humbly. Senior brother, you're too kind. I just got lucky. After a while, two more people arrived. A man and a woman. A middle-stage Golden Core realm cultivator leading the team. The woman dressed in green turned up her nose at him. You look just ordinary. How can we trust you? Jiang Hao smiled and said politely, if it bothers you, senior sister, you can always raise questions about my decision, and we can all agree. He was fine with that. This was the best way to deal with those who looked down on him. He could also choose a new team leader in this way. Being a team leader was exhausting. It required taking care of his team members as much as possible. It always restricted his freedom. That's more like it, she said and nodded. With her was a man at the early stage of the Golden Core realm who stood silently by her side. Among them, he had the lowest cultivation realm. The woman from the Ice Moon Valley was Liu Xin. She was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. The man was Hai Yun. The one with the highest cultivation was Wei Jixiang from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. After a while, the five arrived at the mines. Jiang Hao had replaced Mu Qi's spot as one of the supervisors. There was no need to meet the other seniors there, and they could enter the mine. They headed to the area where no one else was there. Upon arrival, they found that there were others inside. Just like them, 5 people were gathered into groups. There were 2 groups in total. All were in the middle to late stages of the Golden Core realm. The team leaders were at the peak of the Golden Core realm or the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. There were 3 women and 2 men on the left. Their team leader was a woman. There was a group of another 3 men and 2 women on the right. Their team leader was a man. Jiang Hao was surprised. There seemed to be more people than expected. At that moment, there was only one path ahead, and it seemed they were discussing who should enter first. We arrived first. Why are you stopping us from going in? Said one of the women in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Her team leader was at the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm, so she didn't need to fear anyone. You arrived first, said a man and frowned. Didn't you see our people at the entrance when you arrived? We saw the entrance from afar. Is there any problem with us entering first? No one has said anything. Why are you stopping us? Asked a woman at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Are you all blind? Didn't you see the entrance? The man asked. If you didn't see us here first, then you must be blind, said the woman. Let's say you're right for argument's sake. Why would that be a problem in letting us in? Then, why didn't you let us in first since you saw us here? That's ridiculous. You won't let us in, so why should we let you in? It should have been us first. Jiang Hao and the other 4 remained silent and watched them argue. Finally, the man, at the peak of the Golden Core realm, stepped aside. It should have been this way from the beginning. Everyone else has nothing to say. It's just you who has a problem. Yet, you claim to have no issues with it now, said the woman coldly. After that, her group entered the mines, followed by the man's team. Jiang Hao waited for a while before entering. He could see it clearly. The man at the peak of the Golden Core realm had concealed his cultivation realm. He had already advanced to the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. He wondered if the remaining people would have a problem too. The next day, Jiang Hao's group found an underground river inside. The flow of water was quite astonishing. After a quick look around, they found a corpse by the shore. The body was of the woman who was arguing yesterday. Jiang Hao sighed. It was better to lie low and just be polite. It was less dangerous that way. The Heavenly Note sect was not a good place. Jiang Hao sneakily glanced at the 4 people in this group. He noticed their grim expressions. The dead woman was at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. The strongest among their group of 5 was also at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. How did she die? Li Minute asked. Wei Zhixiang walked over to the body and examined it briefly. He found out that she was stabbed to death. Murdered. Everyone knew who might have killed her. It must have been one of the 5 people from before. Jiang Hao didn't say anything and continued walking forward. Aren't they afraid of being discovered by the sect? Liu Xin asked indignantly. She didn't dare to speak too loudly. She suddenly felt that this place seemed much more dangerous than she had expected. Hai Yun followed behind quietly. The sect doesn't care about this place, Wei Zhixiang said. The group fell silent. Jiang Hao followed the river downstream. He remembered that there was lava in the mine before. Why was there an underground river now? After a while, they arrived at a wide opening. The river flowed down like a waterfall from there. They couldn't make out how deep the water was. We need to go down and take a look, Wei Zhixiang said. There's no other path here, Liu Xin said. The others agreed to explore further down. Soon after, the 4 of them looked at Jiang Hao. I think we should split up, Jiang Hao said. With our strength, we can't take the usual route. So, I think we need to make a new path away from the others. Make a new path? Liu Xin sneered. And how are we going to do that? Jiang Hao looked at the huge platform. He then came to a corner of the wall and patted it. This place looks like it can be dug through. We can make a cave here and follow through. Finding a mining vein is also good. A mine? Wei Zhixiang frowned. Are we going to mine here? Jiang Hao shook his head. No. I'll do it. The 4 were puzzled and a bit skeptical. We can treat this as our base. I will dig and search for mining veins. Seniors, if any of you face danger while exploring below, you can retreat and converge here so that we can discuss further. If you find something useful, then it will be yours. Everyone thought about it. It was a bit strange. Staying here to mine was quite dangerous because there might be many monsters in the mining veins. There were usually monsters lurking in mines discovered for the first time. There was another problem. Which normal Golden Core realm cultivator would run here just to mine? At that moment, Li Minute said, I think that is reasonable. I'll stay here and mine with junior brother Jiang. Chapter 8:12. I wanted to kill you. Jiang Hao sighed when he heard that senior sister Li Minute wanted to stay. He had wanted to stay here alone and mine while they went off to explore. That way, they could choose a new leader. However, now that they were split into 2 or 3 groups, the team couldn't go too far. They couldn't elect a new leader for the group. I can try and explore. Wei Zhixiang nodded. Then, the 3 of us will go down and take a look. You 2 can mine here, said Liu Xin. She never thought someone would stay and dig. It was baffling, but she didn't care. After confirming the location, the 3 of them went down the waterfall to explore. On the empty platform, only Jiang Hao and Li Minute of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion were left. Jiang Hao looked at her and frowned. She was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm and didn't seem to like him much. It was very likely that she might suddenly attack. Such people were the most bothersome. How do you plan to start digging, junior brother? Li Minute suddenly asked. Jiang Hao brought out his pickaxe and walked to the stone wall. He sensed it and then tapped it with his palm. Then, he used the pickaxe to dig. The rocks here were very solid. If they blasted the place, it looked suspicious. So, he could only use his pickaxe to dig little by little. He wasn't sure if there were ores here, but he wanted to find a place to mine quietly since he was already here. He was surprised to see that while he mined, Li Minute also used a magic treasure to dig. This wasn't a big deal, but Jiang Hao could sense her resentment. He felt helpless. She might be planning something against him. After a long time, Jiang Hao sat down to rest and deliberately gave her a chance to act. At that moment, he could clearly sense that Li Minute was staring at him and had activated the magic treasure in her hand. Jiang Hao was still sitting with his eyes closed. He was just waiting for her to make a move. However, she did nothing. He turned around and continued mining. Jiang Hao looked over curiously and saw senior sister Li Minute burying herself in the mine. After a moment, he took a break again. The next day, he continued to mine. This time, senior sister Li Minute was the one taking a break. She lowered her head and seemed lost in thought. After a while, she suddenly said, "Junior brother Jiang, do you still remember junior sister Yun Ruo?" Jiang Hao was taken aback. He put his pickaxe down. "I do." Senior sister Yun Ruo was the cause of all his troubles in the beginning. Because of Yun Ruo, he was targeted by many people and was even sent to the law enforcement hall. That was when he was put on the suspect list and was barred from venturing outside the sect. Many people from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion and the Pavilion Master hated him for it. It got to the point that he could have been murdered at the Heavenly Joy Pavilion if he wasn't careful. They had tried to do it on his trip to Devil's Den. He would have been killed long ago if he wasn't careful. More than 10 years had passed since the incident, but it seemed the matter was still not over. The people from the Sunset Immortal sect had not let him off easily either. The Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion was the same. His advancement to higher realms had been disturbed because of that, so he couldn't let it go. Although senior sister Yun Ruo hadn't been able to cause him direct harm, she had affected his life in many ways. "Junior brother, have you ever regretted killing her?" Li Minute asked. Jiang Hao didn't answer the question. Li Minute didn't seem to expect an answer. Because of junior sister Yun Ruo's death, many people's lives have changed, especially our branch. "What do you mean, senior sister?" Jiang Hao asked. He did not understand what she wanted to do. "When I was young, my master brought me up the mountain. He valued me very much, and it seemed he needed me," Li Minute whispered. "Master was very good to me. I had never met such a kind person since I was a child. But when I was 16, my body changed. Master no longer looked at me with that kind of expectation. There was only disappointment and disdain." Jiang Hao lowered his head. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Joy Pavilion needed a charm body to advance. However, since her charm body was interrupted by her anomaly, she was useless to him. "Master no longer pays attention to me, nor does he look at me anymore," Li Minute said. "But I have hope. I might be just one of Master's many disciples, but Master is everything to me. You killed senior sister Yun Ruo, and the Master was furious. I hate you too. You ruined everything for the Master." Li Minute stared at Jiang Hao. "I want to kill you." "Then, why didn't you do it when you had the chance?" Jiang Hao asked. Li Minute lowered her head and fell silent for a long while. "I was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and you were in the early stage of the Foundation Establishment realm at that time. I'm still where I was, but you are already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Such speed, such talent. Maybe it's because of the blood wish path like the others say. Whatever it might be, I can't compare to you. I immo that if I make a move, I won't be your match. I don't want to die yet." Jiang Hao was a little surprised. So, that was why she didn't make a move. "Do you know why the Pavilion Master valued you?" he asked. "I know. It's because of the charm body. But the Master needs someone who has successfully mastered the charm body for his advancement. I thought I could be the one, but I wasn't. It was junior sister Yun Ruo he wanted." Li Minute laughed bitterly. "I wanted to do something for my master, but I realized that I can't do anything. When junior sister Yun Ruo died, I was a little happy. I felt like she had stolen the master for herself, and she was finally dead." Jiang Hao frowned. He couldn't understand the thoughts of the person in front of him. However, everyone had their own story. He wasn't the right person to judge her. He just didn't understand why she was opening up to him. "Master still won't look at me," said Li Minute and turned to look at Jiang Hao. "He still looks so disappointed every day. It's all your fault." She looked at him with resentment. Jiang Hao lowered his head helplessly. "I know you want to kill me to avoid trouble in the future. Isn't that true?" Li Minute suddenly asked. Jiang Hao had actually thought about it. However, he now thought of another way. It would be better for both of them. Boom. While Jiang Hao was thinking, the river suddenly surged. Immediately after, someone retreated. It was a woman dressed in blue. Jiang Hao realized that she was the woman from the first team that was led by an early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivator. "Please help me," she said when she saw them. A huge tree branch was chasing after her. "Please save me. I'm willing to pay spirit stones," she said. Jiang Hao moved. The branch was not that strong. The source of the magic might be too far away. If it was struck with a strong force, it might retreat. He used the first form of the heavenly blade, moon-slaying. Boom! Moonlight flashed. The tree branch shrank back, just as Jiang Hao had guessed. "Senior sister, are you all right?" He stood before the blue-robed woman. "What are you waiting for? Hurry and help me up," she said. "Do you want spirit stones?" Chapter 8:13. Didn't you intend to kill her, junior brother? Jiang Hao looked at her. He didn't expect her to use that tone with him after he had helped her out. She was so rude that Jiang Hao thought she must have only survived in the Heavenly Note sect because she had been living in hiding. An aura suddenly appeared behind him. Then, a figure flashed past him. At that moment, the woman on the ground looked furious. Before she could do anything, a sword slashed across her neck. Her blood splattered all over the ground. The blue-robed woman was stunned. She felt her vision go blurry. She didn't even know what had happened. "Why did I end up like this?" Jiang Hao stood in place and turned to look at senior sister Li Minute in surprise. Why had she suddenly attacked the blue-robed woman? Li Minute picked up the blue-robed woman's storage treasure and handed it to Jiang Hao. When he didn't accept it, she looked at him. "Junior brother Jiang, weren't you waiting to kill her and take her spirit stones?" Jiang Hao was silent. He never had that intention. However, he reached out to take the storage treasure. He discovered that the storage treasure contained only a bit of spirit stones. It was more than 700 in total. During advancement, Golden Core Realm and beyond took a lot of spirit stones. People in those realms needed pills which cost a lot of spirit stones. Magical treasures also cost a lot of spirit stones. Only after reaching a certain stage would one be able to rely less on spirit stones. Before that, disciples usually had to save a lot of spirit stones to be able to advance to higher realms. He kept the spirit stones and gave the rest of the things to Li Minute. She accepted it without any hesitation, but she looked at the things as though they didn't belong to her. Perhaps she thinks that he'll kill her and snatch her things away. Jiang Hao walked away and continued to mine. They hadn't been able to find any mineral veins, so he hadn't earned even one bubble in 2 days. If he mined without obtaining even one bubble, it would be such a disappointment. Li Minute looked at Jiang Hao and frowned. She didn't understand why he wasn't trying to get rid of her. Jiang Hao just continued digging. The magical branch just now had been a little strange. This place wasn't as peaceful and safe as he had expected. 5 days passed that way. Jiang Hao still hadn't found any ores. The rocks here were getting tougher, and the consumption of spiritual energy was much higher than expected. He felt that this place was somewhat strange. It is no wonder this place didn't fall even when other sects joined hands to attack it. The Black Heaven sect had joined hands with other sects to attack the mines in the Heavenly Note sect to find some treasure in this place. At that time, they had gained a lot, but the mines had remained intact. There were many secrets in this place. Those people had only scratched the tip of the iceberg. The closer Jiang Hao got to it, the more he felt that even the power of the Immortal Ascension platform wasn't enough to shake this place. He now understood how terrifying the mines were. Jiang Hao was still thinking of a way to find a mineral vein when a person suddenly flew up from the waterfall. Something has happened. It was Hai Yun. He was the weakest among the group. He was only at the early stage of the Golden Core Realm. Jiang Hao saw that he was injured in many places. It felt like a tree branch had tried to strangle him. "What happened?" he asked as he put away the pickaxe. Hai Yun was surprised to see the pickaxe. He thought this person had come prepared. "The seniors," he stammered. "Something happened to them. I only managed to escape because I was too far away." "What exactly happened?" Jiang Hao asked. As the leader, he would have to take care of such things. There was no other way. On the path of cultivation, everyone had to be responsible for their own actions. Danger could come at any time. If he couldn't avoid it, he would only fall. Everyone understood this, but not many people accepted it. We saw a large tree below. The tree seemed to pierce the mountain. It was difficult to climb to higher areas. We observed it from afar. We thought about going around it, but the tree suddenly started attacking us. The seniors are trapped there, and they can't escape, said Hai Yun. Does the tree have fruits? Jiang Hao asked. No. Hai Yun shook his head. Jiang Hao looked at him and nodded. He appraised him. Hai Yun, inner sect disciple of the Ice Moon Valley of the Heavenly Note sect. He has great talent and is in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. He knows that you are quite strong, so he wants to lure you down to open the way. While 4 people fight and find a way, he intends to pluck the fruit from the tree. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by it. Many people in the demonic sects were like this, so there was nothing to worry about. Even the immortal sects had quite a few cunning people among them. However, he had to go down and look before deciding to save the others. There were no ores here, so there was nothing to gain by staying there. Perhaps there was a mineral vein below. Let's go and take a look. Jiang Hao walked forward. Li Minute glanced at Hai Yun and hesitated for a moment before following him. Thank you, seniors, Hai Yun said gratefully. They went down. Jiang Hao was vigilant of his surroundings. He looked at the river. The deeper he went, the more eerie the river became. It seemed to be gradually losing its vivacity and meandering deeper. After a while, he landed on the ground and saw that the river had turned black. When he looked up, he saw that the entire waterfall was black. When we first came down, we discovered this. Although the water looks like that, there was no other problem, said Hai Yun. Jiang Hao looked at it for a while and didn't say anything. Although it looked black, it wasn't the Black Sea from the corpse realm. It's just ahead. Hai Yun led the way. After a while, the black water began to gather into a lake. On the other side of the lake, there was a huge tree that reached into the mountains. There was a forest under the tree. The seniors are trapped in the forest, said Hai Yun. Jiang Hao walked to the forest and frowned. It was a curse. He activated the Heaven Lock technique. The towering tree changed. It was as though endless curses had blended together and taken root in this place. He couldn't go up the tree, at least not in his current state. Where are they? Jiang Hao asked. Hai Yun led the way. He walked all the way inside the forest. Jiang Hao followed him in. He saw signs of struggle. Liu Xin and Wei Jixiang's feet were bound by ivy and roots. They only managed to block or dodge the tree branches that attacked them. There was also the aura of the curse on their bodies. Their skin was affected, and their cultivation realms were declining. The 2 of them regretted being greedy. They shouldn't have come here just for the fruit. They would end up dead in this place because of their foolishness. At that moment, they heard someone approach. They turned and realized it was Jiang Hao, and Li Minute Hai Yun, who was at the back, had stopped in his tracks. Don't close to this area, Wei Jixiang shouted. If you get close, it'll bind you. The aura is strange here. Wait here. Li Minute stopped. Jiang Hao continued to walk forward. Wait here. Pull them out when the time comes. Li Minute was surprised. Wei Jixiang was anxious. He didn't know why Jiang Hao didn't listen to him. He would die in vain. It wasn't like he would be able to save them from this. It was already too late to stop him. Jiang Hao had entered the range of attack. Chapter 8:14. Why do I feel so lucky today? Liu Xin and Wei Jixiang both felt that Jiang Hao was an idiot because he ignored their warning. Everyone was going to die here for no reason. They were just waiting for death. This was an impossible fight. If Jiang Hao had listened, he could have escaped with the others. However, he insisted on ignoring them and acted restlessly. Jiang Hao entered the range of the tree's power. They knew he would be trapped here like them. But his footsteps were powerful. They could feel the surrounding aura moving toward Jiang Hao as if they were trying to bind him. However, a demonic sound reverberated. It was the demonic sound/ability. While the 2 were still in shock, Jiang Hao walked over to them quickly. He was entirely unaffected by the tree's power. The roots and branches rushed toward him. Boom! The demonic sound slash rang again. The tree branch that bound Wei Zhixiang and Liu Xin exploded. They were still in a daze as Jiang Hao rushed to their side. He placed the half-moon blade on the ground. Jiang Hao helped them break free and pushed them out of the forest. Li Minute, who stood outside, pulled them out. That was what Jiang Hao had meant. When she remembered his words from before, Jiang Hao was already back by her side. He rushed forward. The others followed behind. Hai Yun was a little surprised. He didn't understand what had happened. In the blink of an eye, the other two had been rescued. His plan had failed. It was the end for him if they got suspicious of him. However, he did not dare to hesitate and immediately followed them. The tree branches were still chasing them. A while later, Jiang Hao and the others ran out of the forest. But the branches wouldn't leave them alone. No one dared to stop. They ran from the tree branches. Jiang Hao attacked. As expected, the branches retreated without much effort. He understood that once the branches were too far away from the source of power, they retreated if they were attacked. The same thing happened when he saved the woman in a blue dress. Jiang Hao looked around and found that they had ended up in an open area. He wasn't sure exactly where they were. He could only remember the place as the one they discovered in their exploration. The others looked at Jiang Hao in surprise. Wei Zhixiang was stunned. He hadn't expected Jiang Hao to be able to save them so easily. However, Jiang Hao's power saved them. He had jumped into the forest to save them while they had been complaining and shouting at him all this while. "Thank you, junior brother Jiang." He bowed in gratitude. "Thank you for saving my life. I didn't mean to offend you before," Liu Xin said apologetically. They now knew who was stronger among them. Liu Xin lowered her head and admitted her mistake. Jiang Hao shook his head and didn't say anything. He always saved people if he could. If not, there was nothing else he could do. After resting for a while, Wei Zhixiang looked at Hai Yun. "I saw that you were in danger, so I rushed to find senior brother Jiang," said Hai Yun hurriedly. Wei Zhixiang didn't say anything and just nodded. Jiang Hao didn't pay any attention to them. He looked around. The nameless manual and the heaven lock technique overlapped. It allowed him to sense things that most people couldn't. There was a strange power gathering here. The power was concentrated in two places. One was near the tree, and the other was behind it. Jiang Hao turned around and saw a wall. "I'll start mining here. You guys can explore around." This time, no one raised any objections. Jiang Hao was firmly accepted as the leader, and no one dared to question him. "This is not an ordinary place. Please don't put yourself in danger for something small," said Jiang Hao. Oftentimes, desire ended in doom. It was better for everyone to learn to control their desires. If it was a simple thing, they could make a move. But if it was something unknown, it would probably be very dangerous. Many people could not resist the temptation. Wei Zhixiang lowered his head in shame. He had been too greedy before. If it wasn't for Jiang Hao, he would have been dead already. The other team members had to rush in to save him. That wasn't good. Jiang Hao stood in front of the wall and tried to perceive any changes. After a while, he struck out with his palm. Only when his palm struck hard rocks, he began to dig. The pickaxe might not be able to withstand this wall. He had to buy one after he left. He could find a blacksmith to forge one too. Somewhere in the west, Baizhu walked ahead and looked up at the mountain range in front of her with a sigh. "Princess, are you unhappy?" Qiao Yi asked. "We traveled so quickly and were lucky enough to reach the west. I paid a huge price along the way, and I also used up a lot of good luck. In the end, instead of a peaceful and quiet life, I feel like I am jumping into a fire pit," Baizhu said and sighed. "Aunt Qiao, do you understand how I feel?" Qiao Yi shook her head. She did not understand what the princess was worried about. However, it was a little surprising that they had actually arrived at the western border in such a short time. Well, reach the astronomical academy in a few months. "I wonder what's the situation there now," Baizhu said. "Princess, what are you going to do once you reach there?" Qiao Yi asked. Inform them. Inform them about what? It's something that would secure our safety. You'll know when the time comes. Baizhu frowned. There's another teleportation array ahead. It's strange. I feel like I've been so lucky these past few days. Isn't that a good thing? Qiao Yi asked. It is, but I have a bad feeling about this, said Baizhu helplessly. It might be a waste to ignore such a shortcut. They examined to make sure nothing was wrong with the array. Then, the two stepped into the array. When they reappeared, they were in the western region. They had crossed the last mountain range in one fell swoop. Baizhu felt strange. When she walked into the city, she saw that some people were playing pitchpot. Aunt Qiao, let's go play too. Baizhu pulled Qiao Yi along with her. Then, she casually threw an arrow. With a clang, it landed in the pot. I truly feel lucky today. Baizhu smiled and continued to play. She shot arrow after arrow and didn't miss a single one. A total of 10 arrows went into the pot in the first attempt. Baizhu's face changed. The excitement and happiness turned into doubt. She was worried. This was not normal. It was too bizarre. How could she be this lucky with a 1,000 curse body? Chapter 8:15, The Hidden Remnant Soul Princess. You don't feel happy? Qiao Yi looked at Baizhu, who was looking at the prize and frowning. Aunt Qiao, I don't know. I feel like my luck just keeps getting better today, said Baizhu. Isn't that a good thing? Qiao Yi was puzzled. It's not. This sudden stroke of luck reminds me of something, said Baizhu and looked at Qiao Yi. There is something called dying flash. Qiao Yi felt that Baizhu was just overthinking. I'm serious, Baizhu said. Aren't you the #1 genius of the royal family? How can there be a problem when you are still only 300 years old? Qiao Yi asked. I just came of age, Baizhu said. She tried her luck again. It was indeed extraordinary. It's just. I shouldn't have such luck. It doesn't make sense. Princess, you've seen a sage become an immortal, and you're the first genius of the royal family. You're also one of the wealthiest people in the south, and you even helped with the awakening of the Grand Earth Emperor. Isn't it just natural for you to have such luck? Qiao Yi asked. Baizhu began to doubt herself. She thought for a moment. That's true. I also helped the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment to achieve that. I helped with sealing the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. It's only natural that I should be granted such luck, but no matter how she thought about it, she felt that something was not right. It was not normal for a person to be repeatedly lucky. No. I have to go into seclusion and check what's wrong with me, Baizhu said. On second thought, she still had to rush over to inform the Astronomical Academy. If she was late, it would mean death for all. Baizhu felt that it was all so difficult. She could have stayed in the south, but she had to rush to the west. In the end, she decided to go to the Astronomical Academy first. She would first solve the present issues. After that, she would focus on herself. Fortunately, they just needed to rush and didn't have other things to attend to. Jiang Hao felt the wall. He was unsure if there was a mine on the other side. If there was, he could use it to increase his cultivation points. If not, he had to be careful. The closer he got, the more he needed to pay attention to what might be on the other side. If it involved some strange powers, he would stop. This time, Jiang Hao was the only one left behind. The others went out to explore. As for the tree, no one dared to approach it again. 3 days later, Jiang Hao walked out of the mine and was about to reach the place from before. He needed to recover. The tree could be seen from where he was. A tree full of curses. Jiang Hao was worried. He wanted to get closer to appraise it. If possible, he wanted to try to wipe its trunk. If it was a divine tree, he might get something out of it. However, he wasn't in a hurry to go there. He had to see what was here first. If there was a mine, then there was no need to approach the cursed tree. Nothing was better than mining. It had taken 11 days for the heavenly fragrance Tao flower to produce blue bubbles. The cursed tree was not comparable to the heavenly fragrance Tao flower. The tree had already matured, but the heavenly fragrance Dao flower was still growing. After taking a break, Jiang Hao entered the mine again and began to swing his pickaxe. 3 days later, Jiang Hao stood in front of the wall. With a gentle push, he could see what was behind it from the cracks. He sensed that there was no special power nearby. Breaking through might not be risky. He took out the immortal mountain sea shield and the yin-yang bracelet. Jiang Hao used the half-moon blade to gently pick at the wall. He scraped the stones off bit by bit. A faint light escaped through the cracks. When the light dissipated, he saw a cast cave. There was a spring in the center of the cave, and a small piece of wood was rooted in the water. Jiang Hao was surprised. There was only a piece of wood in the center. After putting away the bracelet, he approached it. The wood looked a little strange. There was a life aura surrounding it. He appraised it. Longevity wood, a branch broken from the longevity tree. It has the power to nourish a soul. A remnant soul is hidden inside. It will gradually recover by borrowing the power of the mountain range. Jiang Hao was surprised. This was what Liu Xingchen was looking for. As expected, there were many opportunities in the mine. The longevity wood and the remnant souls inside were treasures for growth. This longevity wood could be considered a magic treasure. Perhaps he could try to wipe it. As for the remnant soul inside, Jiang Hao didn't plan to touch it yet. He decided to go to take a closer look. In the spring, Jiang Hao flew to the wood. The wood was about 2 meters tall and as thick as an arm. He touched it lightly. There was dust there. He took out his cloth and gently wiped it. As expected, a bubble fell. Spirit Sword +1. The first one was a green bubble. There might be a lot of gains later. As he wiped, bubbles fell one by one. Strength +1, Spirit +1, Cultivation +1, Lifeblood +1. The longevity wood was onlv so tall. It didn't take longs for Jiang Hao to finish wiping it. In the end, he obtained 11 blue bubbles. He would have had to struggle 3 or 4 months outside to get that many. He sighed and turned around to leave. He had only planned to come here to mine. Who knew that he could find treasures to wipe clean? After packing his things, Jiang Hao walked out of the cave. Inside the longevity wood, the remnant soul was surprised. The person had left just like that. He didn't do anything. He had only approached to wipe the wood. It wondered whether the person knew that this was the longevity wood. It hesitated for a while and then decided to stop the person. It was rare to meet someone here. This person seemed extraordinary, especially because of the shield in his hand. "Young man, please wait a moment." Jiang Hao had already reached the entrance of the cast cave. He pretended not to hear it and waved his hand to seal the entrance. He walked away. The remnant soul was speechless. He thought he had imagined it. He let out a sigh of relief as he walked out of the cave. The remnant soul had awakened, and it might be recovering by now. It was hard to say how strong it was, but he could definitely get into trouble if he got involved. Jiang Hao did not need more problems. Taking the wood away would only add to his trouble. He looked at the cursed tree from afar and decided to appraise it. He decided to wipe the tree clean. If it wasn't a divine tree, it wouldn't be in this state. He was very fast and arrived at the edge of the forest in no time. At that moment, he heard the waterfall. The black water was at the edge of the forest now, and some water had even flowed into it. The water was strange. It reminded him of the endless Black Sea. After making sure that there was no one around, Jiang Hao took out the Heaven Fate Misfortune Pearl and walked in. This time, everything in the forest seemed to be retreating as though it was afraid. All curses bowed in front of Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. Meanwhile, Shangguan Qingsu, who had arrived in the south, suddenly felt something. The curse on her forehead began to flicker. She was frightened. Was the curse acting up this early? Chapter 8:16. I bought tea for you. Senior Shangguan Qingsu had been in the southern region for a long time, but there was still no news from smiling Sansheng. Not only did she fail to find him, but she also became the target of someone else. Feng Hua had been chasing after her relentlessly. She leaked the news of her presence in the south herself. The purpose was to make Feng Hua come looking for trouble. If she couldn't find her, then Feng Hua would cause trouble for the Shangguan family. The plan was to use Feng Hua to stop the Shangguan family. This way, she could take advantage of all the benefits. As for Feng Hua, she was indeed powerful, but if she remained hidden, it would be safe. There was another important reason. Feng Hua had a grudge against Smiling San Sheng. Now that she was looking for Smiling San Sheng, she would undoubtedly be willing to cooperate with her. In that case, it wouldn't be a life-and-death situation between them. After all, finding her would be like helping find Smiling San Sheng for both their benefits. If their interests aligned, there might be some minor problems, but they wouldn't have any major trouble between them. As for the other members of the Shangguan family, it was hard to say. After all, there had to be someone for them to vent their frustration on. Everything had been going smoothly until a sudden change had happened. It left her confused. After all, such a twist had never occurred before. At that moment, she felt the curse on her forehead spreading throughout her body. The pain began to emerge. She quickly sat down. This time, it seemed different from before. The pain came slowly. Jiang Hao walked to the cursed tree. He looked at the tree. It towered over everything. It made his scalp tingle. If it weren't for the heavenly fate misfortune pearl, he wouldn't have dared get this close. This showed the devastating effect of the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. However, he had never experienced it himself. He had seen what it could do but had never understood how it affected everything because he had never felt it himself. Perhaps those who experienced it didn't live long to tell the tale. He tried to wipe the trunk. Although there was dust on it, he didn't get any bubbles. It's not working. He appraised the tree. Longevity cursed tree. In ancient times, a person cursed themselves into the longevity tree in pursuit of eternal life. They intended to become immortal. When the curse spread across the land, they sealed themselves willingly into the tree. Once sealed, they left behind their shadow. The main body breathes once every 3 months and resonates with the shadows. It's the longevity tree. But it's cursed. Jiang Hao was amazed. Moreover, this tree was not the main body. It was just a residual shadow. If just a mere shadow was this formidable, it was unimaginable how terrifying the main body would be. Breathes once every 3 months, and resonates with the shadow. This kind of thing needed to be avoided. He didn't want to get involved. This unlucky treasure was of no use to him. Just as he walked out of the forest, Jiang Hao met a woman in white. Jiang Hao recalled that she was the leader of the other team before. The one at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. At that moment, she looked ice-cold. She was injured in her left arm. "Greetings, senior," Jiang Hao said in greeting. She ignored him and quickly entered the forest. Jiang Hao felt puzzled. Soon, another person appeared. It was a leader of another team who was supposed to be at the peak of the Golden Core realm. However, he had revealed his real cultivation realm now. He was actually at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. "Greetings, senior brother," Jiang Hao said. Just like the woman before, the man ignored him and headed into the forest. It seemed likely that he was going into the forest to kill the senior sister. From it was evident that their conflict wasn't over. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. After that, he quickly left. If the two of them came out of the forest, he might get into trouble. Although the sect might not intervene, being seen here wouldn't be good. He didn't want to invite trouble. Jiang Hao found that Li Minute had returned when he went back to the mine. "I've found a mineral vein," Li Minute said as soon as she saw him. "Take me there," he said. Soon, they arrived in front of a slightly damp wall where there was a crude cave. "It's inside." "I discovered it," Li Minute said. Jiang Hao nodded. He entered it and found out that she was indeed right. Finally, they could start mining for real. However, senior brother Wei seems to have seen a demonic beast here. "Although it passed by quickly, there's still some danger," Li Minute said. Jiang Hao nodded. He had assumed that she would make a move against him, but she showed no signs of doing that yet. But he still needed to be careful. They had found the cursed tree, an ore vein, and the Black River. They had gained quite a lot from this trip. It was time to report to the sect. If they don't act now, They might miss the opportunity. Right timing was everything. At that moment, something approached from a distance. It headed toward Li. Minute perfect timing. Jiang Hao didn't make a move. Soon, a stone-like demonic beast leaped out of the mine and crashed into Li Minute at a thunderous speed. Bang! By the time Li Minute saw it, it was too late. In an instant, the bones in her body shattered. She flew backward, and blood sprayed everywhere. She fainted. The demonic beast then turned toward Jiang Hao and charged at him. Bang! The moment it moved, Jiang Hao walked over. Immediately after, it disappeared into the ground and turned to ashes. It was dead. Jiang Hao stood by Li Minute's side and set up the mountain sea seal. He also used the yin-yang bracelet and activated the heavenly cauldron. Only then did he take out the sealed bead with the charm body that he had extracted from the scholar's wife on one of his trips. Whether it succeeds or not depends on your luck. Jiang Hao activated the heaven lock technique and pressed the purple bead on Li Minute's forehead. In an instant, the seal broke, and the essence of the charm body began to merge with Li Minute. After a while, Jiang Hao stepped back. He deactivated the heaven lock technique. He felt exhausted. Using heaven lock took away too much of his energy. It didn't harm his cultivation realm but drained his essence, spirit, and energy. Fortunately, he had many divine abilities that protected him. Otherwise, he would have been in danger. After that, he packed up his things and sat outside to rest. He would continue mining after recovering. "You can use the heaven lock technique," asked a voice. Jiang Hao was leaning against the wall in exhaustion. He looked to his side and saw that Hong Yuye had arrived. "I'm just testing it out," he said with difficulty. Hong Yuye sat down, and a tea table appeared. Before her she gestured for Jiang Hao to brew some tea. He didn't protest. He brought out the September-spring he had recently bought. He had bought 2 packs for 40,000 spirit stones. He still had 180,000 left. It was more than enough. Hong Yuye looked surprised. She looked at him carefully. "You earned a lot of spirit stones lately? Senior, you must be joking. Where will I get so many spirit stones? I earned 40,000 in the corpse realm and spent it all on September-spring to please you," he said. Hong Yuye chuckled. Chapter 8:17, Demoness, Don't Want to Work for Me Anymore. September-spring was the most expensive tea Jiang Hao had ever seen in his life. 1 pack cost him 20,000 spirit stones. However, it was easier to please powerful seniors with this kind of tea. Tea leaves weren't hard to come by. He could always find somewhere to buy them. The problem was the cost. For a golden core realm cultivator, it was more sensible to buy magical treasures instead of spending money on tea. The tea had temporary benefits, but magical treasures could be used for a long time. It offered better protection. Who would be willing to spend 20,000 spirit stones on a single pack of tea? Jiang Hao sat down after pouring the tea for her. "What does it feel like to master the heaven lock technique?" Hong Yuye suddenly asked. "It feels like being able to see people's talents. It even gives you the power to interfere with it," said Jiang Hao truthfully. The power of the heaven lock technique was unimaginable. However, that technique couldn't be used lightly. It had a great impact. If it weren't for the Hong Meng Heart Sutra, it would have been fatal to use it twice. "What did you give her?" Hong Yuye asked. Li Minute was still lying on the ground. "Charm body," Jiang Hao said. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao teasingly. "So, you've learned charm techniques?" Jiang Hao was stunned. He recalled the embarrassing moment when Hong Yuye had caught him reading about charm techniques. He lowered his head to drink tea and chose not to speak. He had already forgotten about that matter, and he didn't expect Hong Yuye to remember either. He hadn't even looked at books on charm techniques for a long time. When Hong Yuye had caught him reading them, he had been too embarrassed to open another book in his lifetime. Hong Yuye didn't ask further. Instead, she looked disdainfully at Li Minute. "Why do you always run to unlucky places?" Jiang Hao was unsure how to answer her. He didn't want to venture to ominous places, but he had no choice sometimes. He intended to mine for ores and bubbles. Now that he had finally found a decent mine, he couldn't continue. It was regrettable. Do you know about the origin of that tree, senior? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye fell silent for a moment. It is said that the longevity tree nurtured a clan called the Longevity Clan. When the longevity tree was infused with a curse, the clan also changed. Longevity Clan? Jiang Hao had never heard of it. Other than longevity, is there anything special about this clan? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye thought for a moment. They possess a vast life force. Jiang Hao was puzzled. What did that mean? When Jiang Hao asked again, he didn't get an answer. He could only continue drinking his tea. When he sipped the September spring, he felt much more at ease. And the effects brought by locking heaven gradually dissipated. But spending 20,000 spirit stones in one go was indeed quite extra. The side effect of using the heaven lock technique dissipated. It was a shame that the tea cost 20,000 spirit stones. He recovered slowly. The revival of withered wood ability healed him too. After that, he told her about the discussion they had had at the recent gathering. He also mentioned that the ancient pages might be in the west. He also mentioned the matters of Mu Longyu and Mi Lingyu. The ancient pages are in the west, asked Hong Yuye. Do you have the exact location? Jiang Hao shook his head. Hong Yuye told him to continue paying attention to any information regarding that. She seemed interested in the sage's pages as well. Any powerful cultivator would be curious about it. If they obtained it, they could change the course of history. Having the ability to foresee what might happen was useful and powerful. Everyone wanted power and control. Senior, are you going to the west? Jiang Hao asked. I will definitely take good care of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower when the time comes. So, please rest easy, senior. Hong Yuye raised her eyebrows slightly as she held her teacup to her lips. Are you implying you don't want to work for me anymore? I am willing to do everything in my power for you, senior, said Jiang Hao. Who's going to the west then? Of course, it'll be me. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. Are Mu Longyu and Mi Lingyu a couple? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. They want to break free from the control of the Great Thousand God sect, Jiang Hao said. Are they married? Doesn't the Great Thousand God sect know about them already? It seems that they are indeed married. I think the Great Thousand God sect doesn't know that for now. Hong Yuye smiled. The Great Thousand mental control is not simple. Perhaps not long from now, their secret will be discovered. Jiang Hao was surprised. Mu Longyu is one of the heavenly kings, after all. Does the Great Thousand God sect have a way to deal with him? Confronting one heavenly king would mean confronting 12 of them together. That was almost impossible. Although the Great Thousand God sect was formidable, it probably couldn't afford to offend such a powerful person. Hong Yuye glanced at him with a look that made him feel strange. Jiang Hao could only change the topic. Senior, do you think there is something within that cave? Asked Jiang Hao. You'll find out if you go down, Hong Yuye said. Go down? This was definitely not a place he could walk in recklessly. There was probably a treasure inside. This place wasn't as simple as he had thought. There was the cursed tree and the black water too. Out of curiosity, he asked about the source of the black water. Hong Yuye didn't respond. Jiang Hao didn't press further. He could only continue drinking his tea. He felt better as the tea took effect. He seemed to feel a strange kind of tranquility. When he fully recovered, he found that there was no trace of Hong Yuye beside him. He had almost returned to his peak state. Li Minute was awake too. She was leaning against the wall and nursing her injuries. She knew that Jiang Hao had saved her. Soon after, the others arrived. When they saw that both of them were in a sorry state, they seemed stunned. They thought the two people had fought with each other. Jiang Hao understood that they might have misread the situation, so he explained about the beast attack. They finally breathed a sigh of relief. Jiang Hao wasn't weak. If they had actually fought, things would have gone downhill. The 5 of them gathered together and shared whatever they had discovered. The cave seemed unusually large, and beasts lurked in many places. They marked all of these locations. 2 months passed that way. Around early March, Jiang Hao stopped digging. He had been digging here for 2 months and found that his progress was much slower than before. He had obtained 1 bubble every 3 days or so. He had been lucky to obtain at least 20 blue bubbles in 2 months. In 3 months, he had obtained more than 30 blue bubbles. They had gained a lot. Eventually, they left the cave. This time, there were no unexpected incidents. Outside the cave entrance, Jiang Hao saw the senior brother with hidden cultivation. Of the 10 others who had entered the mines, only he came out alive. Wei Zhixiang and others were amazed. It was unimaginable to lose so many people. After reporting the completion of the mission at the Law Enforcement Hall, they went their own way. Li Minute sighed. This was her first encounter with Jiang Hao. She found that he was not someone she could handle. She could only let go of the resentment in her heart. When she passed by a lake, she caught her reflection in the water. She thought she would see her usual boated self, but she found that something was strange. She had changed. Her appearance had changed. She was shocked. She looked elegant and graceful. Even she was amazed by her own beauty and charm. Was this really her? Chapter 8:18. Power Clone Talisman. Jiang Hao felt that there was still some unfinished business when he returned. He glanced at his interface. Name, Jiang Hao, age, 38, cultivation realm, early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform, cultivation method, Heavenly Sound 100 revolutions, Hongmeng Heart Sutra, divine ability, 9 revolutions death substitution, unique, daily appraisal, clear and pure heart, reappearance of hidden spirit, divine might, revival of withered tree, heavenly cauldron, indestructible Vaja, lifeblood, 51-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 49-100, can be cultivated, divine abilities, 2/3, cannot be obtained, halfway there. Still need a year to advance. After entering the Immortal Ascension platform, his progression was so slow. He longed to advance to another stage. The next realm would be closer to the Cliff Master. That would make it safer in the sect. After entering the Immortal Ascension platform, there were only 2 people to pay attention to, the Heavenly Note Sect Master and Elder Baiji. He didn't know how long it would take to reach their realm. If he couldn't surpass these people, he better not be reckless. It was better to focus on his cultivation realm for now. As for his current state, he was not very powerful within the sect. However, there weren't many elders in the sect. He wanted a quiet and peaceful life. His future was promising. He didn't need to take unnecessary risks. He could just wait patiently. Many enemies might already have let go of their hatred, so he was much safer. The Heavenly Saint sect hadn't bothered him for a long time, and the people from the Sunset Immortal sect might have forgotten about him too. He only needed to be careful of the fallen Immortal clan. Other than that, there weren't many things to worry about. The people from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion might also give up soon. He sighed at the kind of opportunities the mines in the sect had. It was entirely possible that someone could find the gift of charm body in the area. If the Heavenly Joy Pavilion couldn't let go of him even after this, then only the passage of time could fix it. Decades later, the Pavilion Master would also let it go. Perhaps in a few decades or after a century, they would forget everything and let go of their resentment. Back at his house, Jiang Hao saw the spirit beast talking to a woman. It was senior sister Lang Tian. Master will return soon. I'm telling you. You might not know this, but I am the future Lord of Demons. But you said the same thing before, I never lie. I'm always honest. Jiang Hao found the exchange amusing. When he approached, the spirit beast saw him and took out a carrot. Master, want a carrot? Jiang Hao ignored it and looked at senior sister Lung Tian. It's been too long, senior sister Lung. How have you been lately? Junior brother Jiang, I see that you're as outstanding as ever, she said in surprise. He was really back. It was only a bit of luck, Jiang Hao said with a soft smile. Then, he asked her why she was here. It turned out that she wanted to sell him some talismans. Jiang Hao understood immediately. It must be some talisman she had obtained after taking life-threatening risks. He invited Lung Tian to the courtyard. When she entered, she sensed dense spiritual energy and a pleasant fragrance. She felt like she had entered a secret realm. Junior brother Jiang, I see that there have been some significant changes here. Leng Tian was surprised. It wasn't like this when she came before. Whenever she visited, it seemed it was better than the last. She felt that junior brother Jiang had some secrets up his sleeves. Forgive me, senior sister Leng. It's just a temporary effect from some spirit herbs I planted, said Jiang Hao. The fragrance of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower made people feel that this place was extraordinary, but it wasn't much different from before. After senior sister Leng Tian took her seat, Jiang Hao brewed a pot of ordinary tea for her. Senior sister Leng, have you ventured outside in these years? Jiang Hao asked. More or less. I spent most of my time learning alchemy. I had some luck to try for the Golden Core alchemist position, she said. Congratulations, senior sister Leng. Jiang Hao sensed that she wanted to say something more. It was just luck, she said modestly. After saying that, she changed the topic. This time, I want to ask you if you are interested in talismans similar to the ones before. You found more? Just one more. Jiang Hao felt that something was off. Another talisman? He suspected that she had gained something big. He asked her if he could take a look, and she agreed. Power clone talisman, dip the brush in water. When the sun and moon alternate, clear your mind. Begin to draw the first half of the talisman. Then, you can receive the inheritance and comprehend the power clone talisman. This is a treasure that Leng Tian and her seniors obtained at the risk of their lives. What do you think, junior brother Jiang? Leng Tian asked nervously. I want it, said Jiang Hao with a nod. What price do you intend to sell it for? How much can you spare? Leng Tian asked. 5,000, Jiang Hao said. Leng Tian was surprised. She then smiled. Deal. Jiang Hao handed her 5,000 spirit stones. She gave the talisman to him at a discount. He saved 2,000 spirit stones. It looked like the other party made a profit, but Jiang Hao felt like he was winning. The power clone talisman didn't seem ordinary. He just didn't know its special traits right now. He didn't need a clone, but many people might. Perhaps he could sell it somewhere. He had to learn it first. In the west, Baizhu stood on the street and looked at the astronomical academy from afar. She was about to arrive. Her luck had been great on the way. It made her quite curious. Now, she just needed to wait for the gathering. Do you want to go in? Qiao Yi asked. I can't say for sure if we can enter it. Only one way to find out. Wait a moment, young lady, said a sudden voice from behind. Baizhu turned and saw a middle-aged man with two elderly men by his side. They seemed like attendants. Their cultivation realms were all in the primordial spirit realm, while she radiated the aura of the golden core realm. Greetings, seniors. Young lady, you're polite indeed. I can see that the luck on your personage is blazing, but your condition doesn't seem too good, the middle-aged man said. Why wouldn't it be good when my luck is blazing? Baizhu smiled and asked. Blazing fortune can attract trouble, the middle-aged man said seriously. Is that so? You're just a little golden core realm cultivator, and I am a powerful primordial spirit practitioner. I wouldn't lie to you about cultivation matters. Qiao Yi felt that something was strange. Where did this confidence come from even for a primordial spirit realm cultivator? Can you help me, seniors? Baizhu asked with a smile. It's quite simple. You just add a bit of misfortune, the middle-aged man said. Just that. Just that. What do you want in return for your help, senior? I feel that you have an item belonging to one of my predecessors. I want to see if it's true or not. Baizhu looked puzzled. What do you mean? That item is the ancient and modern book, said the middle-aged man. Chapter 8:19. Primordial Spirit Realm experts will never deceive you. Baizhu stepped back and gripped her storage treasure when she heard him. Senior, how did you find that out? It was obvious. How can a golden core realm cultivator hide something like that from a primordial spirit realm cultivator? The middle-aged man said. Are you planning to snatch it from me, senior? Asked Baizhu. Not really. The middle-aged man shook his head and smiled. We want to take a look at the contents of that book. Of course, it won't be for free. Considering your blazing fortune, it will have a huge impact if it is not dealt with. The book also plays a part in that. Is there something wrong with the ancient and modern book? Baizhu asked. Qiao Yi felt something strange. Could the might of primordial spirit realm cultivators be this great? She, too, was a primordial spirit realm cultivator. She felt that these people might not really be in the primordial spirit realm. Who were these people? Materials for the book itself are extraordinary, and the person who wrote it was even more exceptional. What did you think would happen when you obtained it? People, objects, and fortunes from ancient times all come into contact with you. If there's a gap in your strength, there will be significant issues. People with unstable luck should seal the book when they obtain it, the middle-aged man said. Baizhu was skeptical. She had checked it and didn't think it would cause any trouble. Young lady, let us take a look at the book. We will help you suppress it and temporarily seal the ancient and modern book. How about that? Said the middle-aged man. As for your suspicion that a primordial spirit realm cultivator isn't that powerful. You, a golden core realm cultivator, cannot fathom how much power we might have. Qiao Yi felt these people were insulting her. As a primordial spirit realm cultivator, she didn't sense anything like that. Senior, you just want to take a look? Baizhu asked. Of course. The middle-aged man nodded. All right. You can take a look, said Baizhu helplessly. The middle-aged man was delighted. Qiao Yi suddenly felt that the princess was being deceived. These people were tricking her. However, Baizhu had already handed over the book. Young lady, you're truly kind, said the bearded old man as he took the book. It's no problem, she said. Then, the three men sat down and started reading the ancient and modern book. Baizhu and Qiao Yi waited. I haven't finished reading yet, the bearded old man hastily said. Princess, could they be? Qiao Yi whispered. Baizhu shook her head. I believe these seniors are good people. Qiao Yi was speechless. Baizhu smiled innocently. She thought that these seniors could even make a cultivator in the Immortal Ascension platform retreat in fear. If they used force, she would be dead already. Even if they took the book away, all she could do was smile and accept it. She had never faced something like this in the South. For a moment, she felt that the South was safer. There were very few major sects in the South. In the other three regions, there were immortal sects everywhere. In the South, she had no rivals, but once she left, there were powerful cultivators everywhere. She felt numb. Look. It mentions the South, exclaimed the middle-aged man. The three of them looked at the book as if they were looking at a sacred scripture. Stopping in front of the truth. That's it. Nothing after that. The middle-aged man found it hard to believe. Continue reading, the bearded old man said. Then, they flipped to the end. Sure enough, they found another sentence. When we meet again, I might be myself but also not myself. The three men looked at each other. What does that mean? The middle-aged man sighed. After that, they returned the book to Baizhu. Although reluctant to return it, they didn't snatch it away. Young lady, do you plan to sell this book? The middle-aged man asked. This is for a friend of mine. It depends on her, said Baizhu truthfully. What's your friend's name? I can't tell you. She couldn't say anything about Zhong. There were some rules they needed to follow as members of the gathering. That's fine. We'll help you seal it and suppress the blazing fortune a bit. However, I'll have to remind you that if you feel something burning in your forehead, danger is close. Similarly, your outstanding fortune might mean that you'll encounter great calamities in the West. Be careful, the middle-aged man said solemnly. Thank you, seniors. Baizhu nodded. Then, the three men turned and left. I heard that there's a new tea house in the east of the city, and the pastries there are excellent, said the beardless old man. Let's check it out. Do they have alcohol? They have tea. That's good too. The three walked away. Baizhu watched them leave with a strange feeling. Princess, did they really help you? I don't know. She didn't feel any change. But if these three men said they had helped her, they must have. She had to spread the word and then go into seclusion. It would be best if she could attend the gathering. She needed to ask Senior Dan Yuan about it. At the mountain river valley, Guan Zhongfei was still waiting. At that moment, he could see a dark cloud in the sky. The person from the Astronomical Academy and Dole were inside that. To think that they would cross that boundary together. Guan Zhongfei had never heard of such a thing. What's going on with Dole? He could see clearly that people like Dole wouldn't live for much longer in the cultivation world. He was indeed fortunate. It was extremely difficult for Dole to stay alive at this point. He heard from some seniors that the person from the Astronomical Academy was fighting her own inner demon. It was likely that Dole might die. At that moment, some people hid in the shadows and some launched their attacks. But no one dared to openly show themselves. After waiting for a long while in the dark, these people came out of hiding when they saw that the person from the Astronomical Academy was indisposed. Flying swords came at them. They wanted to make sure the person failed in her trials. However, seeing such darkness, they felt that the two inside were done for. But if both of them were dead, wouldn't it mean that he wouldn't be able to give the spirit stones to Diol? After some hesitation, Guan Zhongfei decided to use a magical treasure to try to communicate with Dole. This way, he could at least confirm it. But it was dangerous since a powerful cultivator was still inside. He had obtained the magical treasure from the corpse realm. He just needed to avoid the powerful individual from the Astronomical Academy and find Dole. Guan Zhongfei sighed and decided to use it. The darkness was gradually meshing into the aura of death. If he didn't ask now, it might be too late. If Smiling Sand Sheng asked about it later, he couldn't afford to not have an answer. Dole had no influence. He wasn't someone extraordinary. If someone from the Astronomical Academy was trying to protect him, it was obviously because of Smiling Sand Sheng. Even if it was just an act, he had to play along. Soon, he connected to the darkness using a bead. He heard the voice of a woman. Why struggle so much? The Astronomical Academy has already given up on you. We from the end of all things can help you. Chapter 820. The Divine Soul of the Holy Master. At the Heavenly Note Sect, as the sun and moon alternated in the sky, Jiang Hao began to copy the runes of the talisman as instructed. His mind was clear. Only when the sun completely disappeared did he finally lay down the last stroke. Soon after, a complete set of symbols appeared in his mind. Being in the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform helped him memorize the symbols quickly enough. When he opened his eyes again, the stone tablet had shattered. He obtained the inheritance of the Power Clone Talisman. Now, it was time to buy some materials. The requirements for the Power Clone Talisman were very high, and it required high-grade materials. A stack of materials would cost him 1,000 spirit stones. Given its high cost, Jiang Hao knew that mastering the talisman wouldn't be easy. In 10 days, he had failed 10 times in a row. He spent another 1,000 spirit stones to continue crafting the talisman. Logically, he had done everything right, and he shouldn't have failed. And yet, he did. The Power Clone Talisman required power. He failed even in that. After some thought, he decided to suppress his divine sense and see if it worked. 5 days later, a golden light flashed, and the talisman appeared on the table. It worked. He appraised it to see if he succeeded. Power Clone Talisman. Activate it with spiritual energy and reflect it on yourself. You can condense a doppelganger with your power. You can inject basic spells into it. You can easily control it within your field of vision. It cannot be finely controlled, can't sustain with strength continuously, and can't be integrated with divine sense. The clone has the power of the soul ascension realm and can last for 2 hours. Jiang Hao frowned slightly. Was this really a Power Clone Talisman? The limitations were too many. He could only remotely control it. It could barely be considered a clone. At most, it might just look like him with no other use. Moreover, it could only last for 2 hours and was uncontrollable beyond the field of vision. It feels like a waste of strength just to make something with a shape. It's not very useful. With that in mind, he infused spiritual energy and reflected it on the spirit beast in the courtyard. Sure enough, a soul ascension realm beast appeared next to it. It looked exactly the same as the spirit beast. Even the treasure and fur on its body were the same. I wonder how it works with a person. Jiang Hao was curious and continued crafting the talismans. 3 days later, he succeeded yet again in making another. This time, he tried it on himself. A person who looked exactly like him appeared by his side. The person was in the soul ascension realm. He couldn't sense any difference when he inspected it with his divine sense. Only the knowledge from the nameless manual helped him differentiate the clone from the real him. He tried moving the clothes a bit, and he saw strength stripes underneath his clothes. It's not accurate, Jiang Hao sighed. However, it was still quite powerful, especially when infused with the 1,000 miles demonic sound / after enclosing it in the heavenly cauldron. But where could he use such a clone? He could use it as bait. It wouldn't be discovered easily. The talisman runes were not easy to make out. The breath concealment talisman, the heaven secrets hidden talisman, and the power clone talisman had similar traits. He felt that the senior who found these talismans was a bit insecure. Jiang Hao still had a lot of spirit stones, so he decided to spend another 8,000 on materials. The success rate went from once every 3 to 4 days at the beginning to once every 2 to 3 days. A month and a half later, around early May, Jiang Hao accumulated 10 power clone talismans. He still had half of the materials left. He had intended to continue making them but suddenly felt a reaction from the mountain sea seal. He had also set up seals around senior brother Mu Chi's place. When the mission ended, he returned to the spirit herb garden, and Mu Chi and Miao Tinglian had also gone their own way. Jiang Hao didn't sense the arrival of the Holy Master from the Heavenly Saint sect. He had set up seals around Mu Chi and Miao Tinglian's house. Sure enough, there was a reaction. He was unsure about the opponent's cultivation realm, so he didn't dare to confront them recklessly. At the same time, the stone tablet also vibrated. It seemed that another gathering was close. Jiang Hao didn't think he had anything to say at the gathering, so he had planned to be quiet. He went to senior brother Mu Chi's house. The mountain sea seal was all over the place. The purpose of the seal was to try to capture the divine soul of the Holy Master. He sensed that there was indeed a faint trace of divine energy in the place. It was very subtle, and without the mountain sea seal, he wouldn't have noticed it. It seems impossible for others to detect it. Jiang Hao lowered his head in thought. I have to try to figure out the strength of the divine soul of the Holy Master to decide the next step. If there's no other way, I'll have to inform Liu Xingchen or send Xiao Li to inform the Cliff Master. The best course of action was to inform Liu Xingchen. However, it's not the right time yet. Although the other party had locked onto this place, they were still restrained by something. It might take some time for them to arrive. I should consider how to deal with this. Since he didn't know what method the person might use, he couldn't decide what alternative to use to confront them. He could try to use the power clone talisman if possible. I'll attend the gathering first and see if I can find anything on the Holy Master. If I can, I'll figure out a way to deal with it. If not, I'll have to think of something else. Ordinary saintesses might not know much about the Holy Master. Otherwise, he could have asked Miao Tinglian or Ming Yi. Speaking of which, it's been a long time since I last saw senior sister Ming Yi. In the south, there was a spacious place beyond the high mountains where countless disciples gathered and cheered. The return of the Holy Master is near. Let us pave the way for the Holy Master and await his return to the world, shouted an elder from a high platform. The people cheered with him. At that moment, some people were plotting something else beneath the palace. They sat on high chairs and frowned. We have already confirmed which substitute saintess it'll be, said an old woman. It's unexpectedly Miao Tinglian from the Heavenly Note sect. Miao Tinglian? She has been in the Heavenly Note sect for many years now. That traitor has been chosen by the Holy Master. She must be lucky, said a middle-aged beautiful woman icily. The Heavenly Note sect's reputation has been rising lately. The situation is complicated. I don't know if there will be any trouble this time, said a middle-aged man. Can the Heavenly Note sect be compared to the Holy Master? Their fame is nothing, said a young man passionately. The Holy Master is mysterious and unfathomable. He is unparalleled throughout history. What is a mere sect like the Heavenly Note sect? Besides Miao Tinglian, there is another person in the Heavenly Note sect that we need to pay attention to. His name is Jiang Hao. He knows the secrets of the mines, said the old woman. I think that's unlikely. The people exaggerated the matter about Yang Hua. How could a golden core realm cultivator know the secret of the mine? The middle-aged man asked. What if he does? I've been paying attention to Jiang Hao. He often appears on the sect's merit list. According to rumors, he is treated favorably in the Heavenly Note sect. In any case, it's not as simple as you think, the old woman said. In that case, inform the Holy Master and let him decide. It won't be long before the Holy Master's divine soul communicates with us. Perhaps we'll need to clear the way for him, the middle-aged man said. Chapter 821. Going back home if nothing happens. Greetings, Senior. In the public area of the gathering, Jiang Hao sat cross-legged on the floor. At that moment, Zhong's condition had worsened. She had almost lost her entire consciousness. She was silent. Jiang Hao had a feeling that once she was completely taken over by her inner demon, she would be unable to enter the gathering. It wasn't just Zhong. Something was strange with Gui too. However, Zhong and Gui were the opposite. Xing and Liu were also surprised. Lately, everyone seemed less hopeful about their situation. Dan Yuan looked at everyone and smiled. It seems everyone has been living quite an interesting life. Are there any issues in your cultivation? Zhong seemed unable to speak, but Gui and the others had no problem. Everyone had reached a new realm, sorted out their own situations, and only lacked an opportunity to go beyond. Jiang Hao had a feeling that everyone had something going on in their lives. Liu had successfully advanced, Xing was one step away from an opportunity, and Gui was only a bit slow. As for himself, he dared not show any signs of improvement and could only let them continue to guess. Senior Dan Yuan had no clue either. Then, let me explain the Dao intent to Zhong once again, Dan Yuan said. After that, he began to explain it to Zhong. Jiang Hao was eager to listen, but he couldn't understand it properly. Xing nodded occasionally, while Liu was deep in thought. Gui lagged behind a bit. It showed the differences in their comprehension of Dao intent. But it didn't mean one was stronger or weaker than the other. It was the strength of one's mind that couldn't be measured by just one thing. He remained quiet so as to not reveal his abilities. He rather preferred to keep them guessing about him. After a long time, Zhong gradually woke up from her daze. Thank you, Senior, Zhong said gratefully. No need to thank me. Zhong, you have an extraordinary temperament and should be able to overcome this trial. It's just that you've encountered some trouble right now, Dan Yuan said. It's the end of all things trying to distract me, said Zhong. Have they already started? Baizhu asked in surprise. She was in the West, so she couldn't get all the information. Thankfully, there weren't any big issues. Who would have thought that everything would start with Zhong? If the end of all things is getting involved, they might have planned it a long time ago, said Xing. He turned to Gui. Be careful. The person that gives you information might also be involved with them. That's right. The best way to communicate with these people is to take the identity of someone from the end of all things, said Liu. Gui nodded. She was unfamiliar with the Western region. She had been confident before. But now, she doubted herself. The end of all things not only wants to destroy the world but also covets all powerful things. They won't give up on things that can make history, said Dan Yuan. There may be Sage's page in the West, which the end of all things will try to obtain. Jiang Hao understood. The ancient pages might have information on how to destroy the world or save it. Regardless, the end of all things needed them desperately. They could destroy the world themselves. If there was a way to save it, they would nip it in the bud. Do you have more information about the pages? Dan Yuan asked. According to Shong'an, the ancient pages should be in the West. He felt something and looked toward the west, where there was a light. Xing thought for a moment. Shong'an also mentioned a place called Genshin Cliff. I checked the maps, but I couldn't find this place. I haven't heard of it either, Gui said. I've been to many places in the West, but I haven't heard of this place. Dan Yuan turned to Zhong. Zhong, have you heard of it? Everyone looked at her. After a moment of silence, she said, Gentian Cliff. I was born there, but it was just an ordinary cliff. Perhaps it has collapsed by now. She then gave them an approximate location. Dan Yuan nodded. He could try to verify it. Naturally, rewards were due. Who knows the whereabouts of Old Man Corpse C? Dan Yuan asked. The question was for Liu because he had mentioned Old Man Corpse C before. He left. For now, no one knows where he went, Liu said. The awakening of the corpse is connected to him, right? He must be in the West as well, said Gui. She felt numb. Wherever she went, there were problems. The threats never seemed to end. She had thought that the southern region was naturally unlucky. She now realized that luck had nothing to do with the south. Perhaps she was the problem. Dan Yuan looked at Jiang Hao. Friend Jing, do you know where the corpse will wake up? Sea Sky Forest, Jiang Hao said in a low voice. All right. Dan Yuan nodded. Then he asked, is there anything you need? Jiang Hao's information was usually accurate, so he didn't need to verify it. After confirming it, rewards could be offered. Sometimes, information from the others varied in accuracy. But it was impolite to imply that in front of everyone. I need information on the Holy Master of the Heavenly Saint sect and his avatar, said Jiang Hao. He was still thinking about how to bring it up when Senior Dan Yuan asked him if he wanted anything. All right. Dan Yuan nodded. Jiang Hao didn't say anything more. Senior Dan Yuan didn't have any more tasks to assign. At that point, Gui and the others also received the news that Sea Sky Forest was the target of the end of all things. There would be problems there. Moreover, it seemed that the Heavenly Saint sect was about to take action, or else Jing wouldn't suddenly pay attention to the Holy Master. Gui keenly felt that just by listening to the people in the gathering, she could learn a lot of things. Then came the trading session. This time, no one had much to trade. So, they talked about recent developments. What if a person's luck suddenly changes? Gui asked. Gui's luck is like a blazing fire, but it has been suppressed. There is no problem for now, but the origin needs to be found soon, Dan Yuan said. Gui was surprised. It seemed those three people had actually helped her. A senior said it might be related to the ancient and modern book, Gui said. Dan Yuan shook his head. Without seeing that book, I can't be sure. However, that might be just one reason. More importantly, you must have encountered something on the way. Encountered something? Gui was puzzled. I haven't come across anything recently. She paused for a while. What do you mean, senior? This involved a transaction, and something was to be offered in exchange. Gui, are you in the West right now? Dan Yuan asked. Yes. Gui nodded. Near the academy, there is an ancient city. In the city, on one of the streets, there is a noodle shop. Look for the owner. He might be able to help you, Dan Yuan said. Gui was overjoyed. There was a way to know more about her present situation, after all. These days, she lived in constant fear. It seemed safer in the southern region. She decided not to wander away from home anymore. If everything turned out fine this time, she would go and meet her two brothers. Chapter 822. Searching for the traces of dragons. Gui felt more at ease after she decided on a purpose. What do you need me to do, senior? Just take a look at the current situation in Sea Sky Forest, Dan Yuan said softly. Although Gui was reluctant to go, she couldn't ignore the matter. She had to complete this request. I will inform the Astronomical Academy. I'm unsure whether they'll believe it, said Gui. It was difficult even to inform them, let alone expect them to act on it. The Bright Moon sect has also been paying attention to the West. It is assumed that the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is still wandering in the West. They might pay attention to the West. If the information is correct, the Bright Moon sect might act immediately, said Xing. The one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment was still weak. Small issues might not matter, but major problems couldn't be ignored. Those overseas are also paying attention to the West, and many are preparing for the ancient pages of sages. However, the 12 heavenly kings have been quiet lately. They are focusing on the abyssal sea. I also heard that Heavenly King Mu Longyu is trying to collaborate with the other heavenly kings to advance further, said Liu. Jiang Hao was surprised. It wasn't easy for the 12 heavenly kings to band together. It was extremely difficult to get them to cooperate, let alone expect them to advance together in cultivation realms. Heavenly King Hai Luo was the most difficult among them. It seemed impossible for them to succeed. Hong Yuye had mentioned a method, but it was quite challenging to find it. They needed to pay attention to the light in the abyssal sea too. After all, the dragon pearl had come from there. The ancestral dragon's heart was there as well. It felt that dragons might appear one day for real. The matter was also related to Xiao Li Jiang, who had been listening to their discussions. Gui talked about the situation in the West, while Zhong listened vacantly and mentioned the end of all things. A lot had happened overseas, but there wasn't much news from the East. Everyone's attention was focused on the West. It seemed like no one cared about the South for now. That was a good thing. After that, they returned to the old topics and discussed matters relating to Mi Lingyu, the 12 heavenly kings, and the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. In the East, the only matter was the Clear Sky School. It seemed many people from there were venturing out lately. Some people from the Clear Sky School don't know what Thief discovered. Many of them have gone out to search for dragon traces and legends about dragons. Some speculate that dragons might be about to appear, Xing said. The meeting concluded after that, and Jiang Hao left. When he snapped out of it, he noted down everything they had discussed. The ancient pages would appear soon. After Hong Yuye visited, he might have to head west. The West was the center of activity right now, and there would certainly be many problems there. If Gui met with trouble, she might not be spared. It would be better not to head west unless entirely necessary. After writing everything down, Jiang Hao began to read the nameless manual. He needed to prepare. Apart from that, he only had to wait for information about the Holy Master. He would wait and see if the Holy Master arrived anytime soon. He needed to have some plans to avoid being caught off guard. As for the West, it wasn't urgent. Hong Yuye might not visit him anytime soon. Maybe she might take a few more months. As for the sage's pages, it wouldn't appear so soon. The corpse also wouldn't be awakened this quickly. The Astronomical Academy would need time to intervene, as would the end of all things. As for Old Man Corpse C, no one knew where he was. Everything would depend on his mood. Jiang Hao stopped thinking too much. He activated the Clear and Pure Heart ability and read the nameless manual. In the West, Baizhu opened her eyes. She rubbed her forehead, got up, and walked outside. Qiao Yi was still on guard. "Why are you up, princess?" "I found a solution." "Can it treat your condition?" "It may not necessarily be a cure, but it can help understand what exactly is the matter." For now, she only knew that her condition was related to the ancient and modern book. Beyond that, she knew nothing. This kind of blazing luck would burn out fast and would be a danger to her. Ever since that senior had cautioned her that it was dangerous if her forehead got hot, she always felt like it was heating up. "I am still so young. Why do I have to face such problems?" Baizhu sighed. Qiao Yi didn't know what to say. Regardless of her age, the hardships the princess faced were greater than those of others. It wasn't that the princess had less experience, but rather, she had a remarkable ability to smooth out problems. Others didn't have that ability. "Is there an ancient city nearby?" Baizhu sat down in one of the chairs. "Yes. I heard of it before. It's not very far," said Qiao Yi. "Then, let's go. We can walk around and see the city," said Baizhu as she got up. She didn't want to delay for even a moment. Although the luck was suppressed, she wanted to know what was going on. Qiao Yi was puzzled. But she didn't say anything. The princess had been worried about the blazing luck all this time. If there was a way to understand it, she would naturally want to go and visit the place as soon as possible. This way, she could put her mind at ease. She had no idea what was going on. The 3 primordial spirit realm cultivators they had met earlier had confidently declared that they could sense it because they were in that realm. She didn't believe them. She was in the same realm, and she sensed nothing. The sky wasn't bright yet. Baizhu and Qiao Yi arrived at an ancient city. The streets were filled with people. It isn't bright yet. Why are there so many people here? Qiao Yi asked. Baizhu didn't know, but there were indeed many ordinary non-cultivators there. They asked around and found out that many people had come here on a pilgrimage to pay homage to the sages of the past. This sage might be from the Astronomical Academy. Baizhu thought of the Holy Master Jing had mentioned in the gathering. She asked Qiao Yi about him. Holy Master? Qiao Yi thought for a moment. The Heavenly Spirit tribe seems to have some records. It said that they were sealed by someone from that clan. It might be because of disagreements among members. What exactly were the disagreements about? Baizhu asked. The Heavenly Spirit tribe clan didn't record the details, but the Saint Bandits might know about it, Qiao Yi said. Baizhu nodded. She didn't think too much about it and walked toward the city. She needed to find the noodle shop. Princess, which one are you looking for? Qiao Yi found that there were quite a few noodle shops in the area. There were 3 or 4 shops right in front of them. There were more than a dozen shops down the street. Baizhu hadn't expected it. She could only visit each one and ask around. Maybe that way she would be able to find the one she was looking for. Chapter 8:23. Should I find a sister-in-law for you? Baizhu chose a noodle shop randomly. It was the most dilapidated one. The business didn't seem to be going well. Why did you choose this one? Qiao Yi asked. I don't know. It looks like this shop would be the wrong one. That might mean my luck isn't working. If we keep finding the wrong shop, it'll mean I'm back to normal, said Baizhu. Qiao Yi was speechless. The princess seemed to have gone crazy. They walked in. Although it looked quite run down, the shop was very clean. Behind the counter was a middle-aged man. A young girl was welcoming customers. What kind of noodles would you like? The girl asked. She wore a simple hat and plain clothes. Her skin was tanned as though she spent most of her time outside in the sun. We don't want to eat noodles, Baizhu said. Don't want noodles? The girl looked puzzled. Yes, we don't want noodles. But we'll eat whatever you order for us. It'll mean that it is the most delicious things in the world, said Baizhu with a smile. The girl chuckled. I'll order something for you then. Then, I'll eat whatever you give me, said Baizhu. Qiao Yi was speechless. All right. How about plain noodles? The girl asked. Okay. Baizhu nodded. The girl ordered 2 bowls of plain noodles. Baizhu wanted to talk with her more and subtly bring up the matter of her condition. However, 3 more customers walked in. 3 bowls of beef noodles, they said. No noodles. Just beef. Baizhu turned to look. Aren't those the primordial spirit realm experts from before? Today, they were in the golden core realm. Hi. Aren't you the kind young woman from before? Exclaimed the man with a long beard. Baizhu was speechless. Had she come to the right place after all? She felt a bit lost. She had found the place she wanted, but she felt no joy. Qiao Yi felt like she would be humiliated again. These people weren't in the primordial spirit realm anymore. Everything seemed strange here. After the gathering, Jiang Hao continued with his usual daily routines. He tended to the spirit herbs in the spirit herb garden and studied the nameless manual. He also learned more about the mountain sea seal. After he made some progress, he would replace the seals. This would increase his chances of encountering the Holy Master in the future. Even if he wasn't an enemy, he might gain some benefits if he found the divine soul. The divine soul could nourish the mountain sea seal, after all. He just didn't understand why the divine soul had such a miraculous effect. One day, Miao Tinglian visited the spirit herb garden to get some spirit herbs. Junior brother Jiang, please pack these spirit herbs for me. She handed the list to Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao looked up and saw that her face was pale, and there were fluctuations in her aura. Senior sister, you don't look well. Yeah. Miao Tinglian sat down shakily. I don't know what's going on. I just feel mentally drained, like I've been cursed. But it's not a curse. I haven't figured out the reason yet. I asked the master, but he didn't see anything wrong. He just said my aura and spirit is a bit strange. He told me to be careful and inform him immediately if there's any problem. Jiang Hao nodded. The Holy Master wasn't someone simple. Even the Cliff Master couldn't see through that power. So, he couldn't help her. Jiang Hao looked at the list of spirit herbs and found that they were all herbs to replenish spiritual energy. But these were of no use. Senior sister, eat this. Xiao Li ran over to them. She handed the pastries she had made in the morning to Miao Tinglian. Oh! Miao Tinglian looked pleasantly surprised. What's wrong with our little Xiao Li today? It's nothing. Maybe you have a little flu. You'll recover soon. I used to be sick too, but I recovered quickly, said Xiao Li. She could see that Miao Tinglian looked very pale. She instinctively thought of her old parents, who had passed away too soon. Miao Tinglian often came to the spirit herb garden, and she always gave Xiao Li things to eat. They knew each other quite well. Xiao Li was afraid for her. She didn't want her senior sister to end up like her old parents. Xiao Li, aren't you hungry? Miao Tinglian asked. I'm not hungry. I'm fine, Xiao Li said. Miao Tinglian smiled. Have these, she said and handed Xiao Li some beef jerky. I made it for you. Xiao Li looked at it hesitantly. She wanted to eat it but felt like she shouldn't. Go ahead, Jiang Hao said. Only then did Xiao Li take the beef jerky. She handed some back to Miao Tinglian. You have some too, senior sister. Miao Tinglian was amused. She looked at Xiao Li, junior sister. You're different from what I imagined. I know how to take care of people. Xiao Li said while eating the dried meat. I can see that. I never thought that you would be so good at taking care of other people, Miao Tinglian said as she propped her chin on her hand and looked at the young girl. Before, she used to tease Xiao Li because it was fun. But she felt touched that Xiao Li had brought her favorite pastries just for her. Xiao Li never shared her pastries with anyone else. But she was giving it all to Miao Tinglian because she was ill. Xiao Li looked worried as though she was afraid that something might happen to Miao Tinglian. Junior sister, you shouldn't stay in a demonic sect, said Miao Tinglian before she could stop herself. I'm very happy here, Xiao Li said. Miao Tinglian nodded. Xiao Li was well protected. The most important creature that protected her was the spirit beast. With the beast around, nobody could harm Xiao Li. Moreover, Xiao Li was a true disciple, so no one dared to offend her. Junior sister, do you think I should find you a sister-in-law? Asked Miao Tinglian teasingly. No. Senior brother Jiang already has someone in his life. He shouldn't find someone else, said Xiao Li. What? Asked Miao Tinglian curiously. Who is it? It's. Xiao Li thought for a moment. It's a senior sister that I like very much. Miao Tinglian was speechless. Which senior sister is this child talking about? Jiang Hao didn't pay attention to them. He was busy preparing the spirit herbs. Judging from senior sister Miao's condition, the Holy Master might appear soon. He needed to find a way to suppress him a bit. While he picked the spirit herbs, he added a bit of the mountain sea seal to it. He left it on each plant. After refining it, the seal would dissipate a lot. The seal would react but won't be discovered. That way, he could buy some time. As soon as Senior Dan Yuan found some information on how to handle the Holy Master, he could proceed with his plan. He would then decide if he should face the Holy Master alone or seek help. Senior sister Miao Alwovs treated him well. So he would TRV his best to help her. It would benefit him as well. After some time, Miao Tinglian returned home with the spirit herbs. Not long after, Mu Qi returned home. Master asked me to find the elder from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. I didn't see him today, but I've delivered the things he wanted me to. Mu Qi sat down. It seems that the master has some disagreement with the person. He can't even show his face. Did you say anything? Asked Miao Tinglian as he handed a cup of tea to Mu Qi. No. Mu Qi took the teacup and shook his head. Will he be willing to help me with my illness? Asked Miao Tinglian as she propped her chin up on her hand. We shouldn't let the master find out about it, said Mu Qi. He glanced at the spirit herbs. What kind of herbs are these? I prepared them myself. I don't know if they'll work. I'll give it a try anyway. If it works, you won't need to bow and ask for help from them, she said. Mu Qi didn't say anything for a while. Let me help you make the medicine. It was the least he could do. As for the spirit herbs, they felt that they were of little use. If their master couldn't find a solution, how could they? Chapter 8:24. The person backing Jiang Hao Mu Qi was brewing the herbs in a pot, while Miao Tinglian sat by his side and instructed him what to add. The two occasionally talked about the spirit herbs and their benefits. They didn't rush. They simply sat beside each other to try and make things better. This spirit herb is something I discovered while reading ancient texts. I think it might be useful, Miao Tinglian said with a smile. Yeah. That might be useful, said Mu Qi. As time passed, it drizzled lightly. It's raining, Miao Tinglian said as she looked outside. Yes. It's raining. Mu Qi also glanced outside. Before long, the rain pattered on the roof heavily. Water flowed down from the roof. It's pouring now, Miao Tinglian said. Yeah. Mu Qi nodded. They stared outside quietly and listened to the sound of the rain. It felt peaceful. After a while, the spirit herbs finally finished brewing. Mu Qi carefully poured it into a bowl and placed it in front of Miao Tinglian. She leaned in to smell it. It's a bit bitter. She took a sip. It's sweet once it goes down. Sweet. Mu Qi was in disbelief. That shouldn't be the case. It is, Miao Tinglian smiled. You brewed it after all. Mu Qi fell silent. He let her drink the medicine. Soon, she finished everything. They wanted to see if it would work. After some time, Miao Tinglian felt her condition a bit. It seemed like her aura calmed. Mu Qi also noticed it because he had spent a considerable amount of spirit stones to buy a magical tool to check the state of her aura. Her aura seemed much more stable. Did it really work? He was surprised. It seems to, Miao Tinglian was also surprised. How was this possible? Even if there were spirit herbs mentioned in the ancient texts, she had chosen one at random. How had it worked? But the result was right in front of them. Let's try again tomorrow. I'll go to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion to see that senior, and then I'll go to the spirit herb garden to collect more herbs. I'll come back and brew it for you, Mu Qi said. He sounded a bit more hopeful than before. Okay. Miao Tinglian nodded. The next day, Mu Qi left early in the morning. Miao Tinglian stayed at home. She checked her condition and found that it had indeed improved. But her situation was still grave. If the spirit herbs worked, it would be much better. At dusk, Mu Qi returned. He brought back the spirit herbs. There was still no information from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. He brewed the medicine and had Miao Tinglian drink it. However, unlike yesterday, there was no change after Miao Tinglian drank the medicinal brew. The spirit herbs were ineffective. But why? Maybe it only works the first time? Maybe my body has developed tolerance to it. Miao Tinglian said. Mu Qi thought that that was unlikely. The effect of the herbs had been so significant the first time. Now, there was no change. After some thought, he asked, Did you gather the herbs yourself before? No, Miao Tinglian shook her head. I asked junior brother Jiang to pack them for me. She suddenly realized something. Is it possible that he, hush. Mu Qi pressed his finger on Miao Tinglian's lips. Don't say it out loud. I'll ask junior brother Jiang for help in gathering some spirit herbs tomorrow. Let's see if it works. Miao Tinglian nodded. Another day passed. Mu Qi returned in the afternoon. He had asked Jiang how for help in gathering the spirit herbs. They brewed the herbs just like yesterday. After it was done, Miao Tinglian drank it. They waited. Like yesterday, the medicinal brew made Miao Tinglian feel better. She looked at Mu Qi in disbelief. Some people have powerful individuals at their back. Don't make wild claims, Mu Qi said in warning. Miao Tinglian nodded. Jiang Hao had seemed extraordinary for a long time. People who offended him usually met with a bad end. Mu Qi guessed that someone else might be helping him. Jiang Hao's rapid progress in cultivation also implied that he did have the backing of someone powerful. Who this person was, Mu Qi's master probably didn't know, and the sect was investigating. That was why Jiang Hao's name was always on the suspect list of the law enforcement hall. It seemed Jiang Hao might have sought support from the unknown power to help Miao Tinglian. Although it was just a simple suppression for a while, it was still remarkable. They hadn't asked for help. Yet, Jiang Hao had offered it all the same. It was best to pretend to not know anything and let things be. Being deliberately oblivious would work in both their favor. As for how Jiang Hao did it, they had no way of knowing. Jiang Hao didn't know if he would be discovered. He thought senior brother Mu Qi would guess it was him, at most. He could just explain that the heavenly fragrance Dao flower had some benefits. There was nothing to be concerned about. At that moment, the heavenly fragrance Dao flower already had some buds on it. If he didn't help senior sister Miao suppress her condition, the consequences would be dire. He was reading when the spirit beast suddenly jumped up. "Master, there's someone outside." Jiang Hao put down the book and walked outside. It turned out to be Hai Ming. Senior brother Hai Ming. He greeted him with a bow. Hai Ming was still in the return to Void Realm. The first time he had met him, Jiang Hao had felt like he was a threat. There was a significant difference in their cultivation realms. Now, the other party was still in the return to Void Realm, while he had already reached the Immortal Ascension platform. This person was no threat to him anymore. Killing him in the sect would lead to trouble. There was no need for unnecessary trouble. If he kept him alive, he could get more information on Feng Hua. Someday, this person would reveal everything anyway. "Young friend, how have you been lately?" Hai Ming asked. "I'm okay," Jiang Hao said with a nod. "This is for you, young friend." Hai Ming handed him a piece of paper. "What is this?" "Perhaps a surprise." Hai Ming left with a smile. Jiang Hao watched him as he left and frowned. Hai Ming seemed to be enjoying himself. He opened the note and read it. There was only one line on it. "I have an avatar that has entered the Heavenly Note sect. Guess what would happen if it kills someone? Will the Heavenly Note sect be able to find my main body?" Jiang Hao lowered his head. This was a threat. Indeed, Feng Hua was dangerous. He needed to find her and convince her to let go of her grudge against him. He also needed her to reveal the information about the stone tablet. He also wanted to ask her why she was so focused on the Heavenly Note sect. He felt that there was some secret hidden here that no one knew about. Hong Yuye wanted to know about the mastermind behind the stone tablets. Jiang Hao didn't know who it was and why she wanted to find them. After a few days, Jiang Hao felt the stone tablet vibrate. He knew that he would finally get some information on the Heavenly Saint sect. He hoped the information would explain the issue of the Holy Master. His next step would depend on that. If the Holy Master was too strong, he would let Liu Xingchen handle it. Chapter 825, Chem. Bury him back in his courtyard. Jiang Hao took out the stone tablet. He chose to ignore the threat from Feng Hua for the moment. The more he cared about it, the happier she would be. She was probably trying to find his weakness by targeting Xiao Li. She had gained nothing in the end. Instead, she had lost 3 of her avatars. She didn't even know how they died. Jiang Hao assumed Feng Hua felt angry right now. The threatening note she had sent was probably just a bluff to make him flustered. If he paid attention to it, he would be playing right into her hands. Ignoring her was the best option. Since he would soon gain more information on the Holy Master, it was better to think about his next step. He checked the stone tablet. It was indeed information he had asked about the Holy Master. The information was sent by Senior Dan Yuan. The Heavenly Saint sect firmly believes that the Holy Master is their hope. Their entire core revolves around the Holy Master. The sealed Holy Master can hear their voices and occasionally send some divine thoughts and blessings. As a result, the sect has developed rapidly. Many join the Heavenly Saint sect for small favors. The majority, however, join because they don't know who else to turn to, and the heavenly saint sect's preaching includes the promise of fulfilling their wishes. Perhaps the Holy Master is the most important, Jiang Hao continued to read. This was not what he was looking for. The predecessor of the Heavenly Saint sect was the Heavenly Spirit tribe. Once, the Heavenly Saint sect was similar to the Heavenly Spirit tribe, but the two clans had different ideologies. The Heavenly Spirit tribe looked down on all beings but did not seek to enslave them. They already considered themselves superior. On the other hand, the Heavenly Saint sect despised all living beings and sought to subjugate them. With different ideologies, the conflict began. The Heavenly Saint sect was defeated, but it managed to survive and recover. The Holy Master rose from the ruins with a divine soul and vowed to reclaim the glory of their clan. They engaged in another war against the Heavenly Spirit tribe. At that time, someone from the Heavenly Spirit tribe emerged and sealed the Holy Master. His identity was Untracia D1E at Tneen time, but now it seems NE was a saint bandit. Jiang Hao recalled what he saw in the Heaven Lock technique. There might have been a great war between the Heavenly Spirit tribe and the Heavenly Saint sect. Later, the Saint Bandits rose and began their own plan. The Heavenly Saint sect wanted to enslave everyone, and the person who sealed the Holy Master wouldn't allow it. However, was it during the era of the Human Emperor? Where did the Heavenly Saint sect get the courage? Did the Heavenly Spirit tribe suffer a major defeat, and was it possibly connected to the Human Emperor? Jiang Hao couldn't know for sure. Still, he hadn't found what he was looking for. He continued to read further. He found some information on the Holy Master. The Holy Master, even if killed or sealed, cannot be completely annihilated. His true self is challenging to break free from the seal, but over countless years, there have always been incarnations of the Holy Master. Without exception, they use women as vessels, specifically the ones appointed as saintesses of the Heavenly Saint sect. It's said that a true saintess can bear most of the Holy Master's soul, while a saintess candidate can only bear a small portion. When the Holy Master descends, he will infiltrate various sects and lurk within. Perhaps there are even fragments of the Holy Master's soul in some sects right at this moment. The Great Thousand God sect seems to be collecting the Holy Master's divine souls and hunting them down. Some people in the Great Thousand God sect assume that the Holy Master has descended 7 times till now. Among them, 3 were at the peak of the return to Void Realm, 3 at the Immortal Ascension platform, and 1 beyond the Immortal Ascension platform. The stronger the vessel, the stronger the power would be. The saintess candidates at the Primordial Spirit Realm or Soul Ascension Realm are most likely to hold an Immortal Ascension platform divine soul. After the Holy Master's descent, he will destroy the original soul of the vessel, devour it, and take on the body of the original host. There were some additional details, but Jiang Hao didn't find them particularly interesting. At that moment, the most important thing was the gap in strength. A primordial spirit or soul ascension realm cultivator was likely to produce a divine soul beyond the immortal ascension platform. That would mean that Miao Tinglian, who is at the golden core realm, might produce a divine soul at the immortal ascension platform. Jiang Hao thought about it. If the divine soul was at the immortal ascension platform, he couldn't be certain of his victory. If he could catch the opponent off guard, he might have a chance. His primordial spirit was quite powerful, especially after so many years of cultivation. With additional divine abilities and the immortal mountain sea shield, he might have a chance against someone at the middle stage of the immortal ascension realm. It was also unlikely that the opponent would be at their peak when they were just born, so that could work in his favor too. He needed to keep some hidden cards in hand. For urgent backup, he would need the Cliff Master. Louis Xingchen might not be enough. He might need the Spirit Beast to take Xiao Li over to the Cliff Master to protect her. If he couldn't win, he would leave a spell on the beast so it could find the Cliff Master. He had to prepare for every possibility. The Heavenly Cauldron probably couldn't stop the Holy Master's divine soul. The Yin-Yang bracelet could, but Miao Tinglian would need to be within the bracelet's range for it to succeed. He could try to trap the opponent in the Heavenly Cauldron until he could use the Yin-Yang bracelet on Miao Tinglian. He could then leave only one way open. That way, he could fully engage with the opponent. But there was a small problem. When the yin-yang bracelet was activated, could he get out from the inside? Could he use the golden ring inside it to escape? It was hard to say. After hesitating, he went to the courtyard to test it out. He found that he could do it, but the two powers clashed. He didn't know what would happen at that moment. Jiang Hao shook his head in confusion and went to senior brother Mu Chi's house that night. When he arrived, he sensed someone nearby. Just as he was about to examine further, the other party disappeared. Jiang Hao frowned. He guessed that it might be someone from the Heavenly Saint sect. It seems they have decent strength. I wonder whose identity they used to enter the sect. If they pretended to be disciples of the sect, it would be troublesome. He had to find Louis Xingchen. Jiang Hao went to the spirit herb garden the next day. A few ordinary non-cultivators were in the garden. Even when they didn't have a lack of people at work, these people still came here asking for work. Senior brother, this time there are 5 people, said Cheng Cho. How old are they? Jiang Hao asked. One is 20 years old, and the rest are around 15 or 16 years of age, Cheng Cho said. Jiang Hao looked at the 5 people. The first 4 were ordinary non-cultivators. They looked frail and were dark-skinned. It was obvious that they were malnourished and were clothed in rags. They probably were destitute. They were eager to come here and work. Even if they ended up dead, they hoped for at least a few good meals. However, some people were worried about their families and would rather starve and send money back home. Jiang Hao didn't ask about their situation. Once they were here, there was no way back. He couldn't do much for them, except give them a decent wage and help them survive for a while longer. It didn't matter whether they resented or respected him. It didn't matter to him either way. The last person surprised him. He was a soul ascension realm cultivator. It was a bold move on the part of the Heavenly Saint sect to send a soul ascension realm cultivator to spy on Miao Tinglian. He was a fanatic follower of the Holy Master and was here to make way for the Holy Master's divine soul to manifest. He was ready to kill everyone here for the Holy Master. Jiang Hao could understand the risk he was taking. He was a fanatic, after all. The next day, Cheng Cho found him again. Senior brother Jiang, the 20-year-old young man, was found dead yesterday. Bury him, Jiang Hao said calmly. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,